Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we're going to talk about our horses to follow for the National Hunt season. Unfortunately, since publication of the blog, you may have already read the blog. Since publication, Adagio has died. He died this morning on the gallops from a heart attack, which was a real shame. And Nurse Susan has been ruled out for the season by Dan Skelton, which again was a real shame. I really liked Nurse Susan. I thought she could be a horse that they might try and do the Moor Battle Cheltenham Festival double and win the bonus with Nurse Susan. But anyway, let's talk about horses that are going to run, hopefully. First horse I want to talk about is Might Eye, who is currently rated 142. And that's what I think they need to be using for Might Eye. The fact he's been beaten by the likes of John Bon, Three Stripe Life, Constitution Hill, I can't remember another one, Richmond Lake, I think it was, in his last three runs, suggests that if they keep running him or tried running him in grade 1 events and grade 2 events, he's not going to be winning them. He might run well and he might finish third or fourth in some of those races, but I just think he'll find a couple too good each time. However, if they go handicapping with him, I think it could be very, very interesting. Win a couple of handicaps, win a couple of feature handicaps, and then go back into the graded races. Something like, I thought the Silver Trophy at Chepstow would have been a good idea. He's not entered in that, so maybe the Greatwood Hurdle could be the race for him. And with our Greatwood Hurdle horse Adagio now sadly not with us, hopefully Might Eye could be the replacement there, and he could be one for the Greatwood Hurdle. They're the types of races that I think they should target with Might Eye. Go for those big handicaps, keep running him in them, and hopefully he'll pick up one of those. And then he can move back into graded company. But otherwise, I just think it's almost a waste of a season if they stay over hurdles and they keep running in the grade 1 events against the Constitution Hills and against the John Bonds, although John Bond I think is going over fences, so that won't happen. But just don't keep taking on horses that have already beaten you. Run in the handicaps and put your quality to good use. The second horse on this part of the video, just quickly, there's going to be two videos because there's quite a lot of horses that we need to talk about. Second horse is Lady Adair. Now, I am a big fan of Lady Adair, and I liked her when she won at Uttoxeter. I thought the race was a good race, and it turned out to be a good race with the likes of Getatonic, Credo, Tweet Skirt, and even Holly, who actually runs tomorrow, in that race. Now, she beat them comfortably, and they've come out and done some good runs since. They've won just reading my notes, they've won Lady Adair, blah, 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 blah. They've won 6 from 17 of those horses that were just behind. She beat them comfortably. She's a graded hurdler in my opinion. I think there's a mare's handicap hurdle at Cheltenham in December that she could target first. I think Indefatigable ran in it last year, and then go to Warwick. I think Indefatigable won that at Warwick, and then look at like the Grade 1 at the Cheltenham Festival. But try and pick up a handicap first, then go for the listed races. I think she's very, very good, and I think there's a lot more to come from her. But I don't think I have a handicap mark for her at the moment. But if she isn't too high in the handicap, that could be certainly a good starting point, that handicap hurdle at Cheltenham in November. The next horse I want to talk about now, if I was to pick one horse from all of these, this would be the one. Kitty's Light. Okay, Kitty's Light has not won since winning at Kelso over 3 Mile 2 in March 2021. Since then, however, there's been a second at Sandown in the Bet365. There's been a third in the Bet365. There's been a second in the Coral Trophy Handicap at Kempton. There's been a second in the Scottish National. There's been a second in the Charlie Hole, a second in the Native River Handicap Chase at Chepstow. And what we've got to remember is Kitty's Light is still 6 turning 7. Kitty's Light isn't a 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old. He's been achieving all these really good runs at 4, 5, and 6, and I think there's still more to come. I think over fences, when you get to 7, 8, then you can really be looking at your prime. And I think what Kitty's Light has achieved at this stage in his career already is hugely, hugely impressive and eye-catching. I do think Kitty's Light is a strange horse in that I always want to call him her Kitty's Light. It just sounds like a mare, doesn't it? But it's not. It's a gelding. Or he's a gelding, sorry. And as long as he's kept away from other Christian Williams horses, then I think he can go very close. He is actually entered to run on Saturday, or is going to run on Saturday in the Native River, which he finished second in last year. He finished second, not beaten far. I think if he's 85% fit, he should take all the beating. It doesn't look a super strong race. And I actually think Kitty's Light, currently rated 144, will be rated 160 by the end of the season. He will win one of these big handicaps. It could well be the Grand National. Moving on to Bonte. I think that's how you say it. Excuse me. I think that's how you say it. I really fancied Bonte for the Cheltenham Champion Bumper, but unfortunately she didn't turn up for whatever reason. I'm sure Fergal had her future in mind. The way she'd won a couple of bumpers at Cheltenham, very impressive. Coming from the back of the field, she runs through them and she wins going away. I think she is very, very good. She's also beaten the likes of Top Dog, Mayhem Maya, and yeah, Oakenrisk, who's a Grade 2 winner at Cheltenham. Top Dog has won a listed National Hunt flat race. It's really strong form, and I really like Bonte. I think she'll end up in the Mayor's Novice Hurdle, and at this stage, she would be one that I'd be very, very keen on. Yeah, and I think she's going to win a couple of races on the way. She's going to be the likes. She's going to be similar to the likes of Lady Adair last season. Win a few novices, win a few Mares novices, turn up at Cheltenham, and I think she'll be in the top 3 or 4 in the betting for the Mares Novice Hurdle. Next horse I want to talk about is Holly, who actually runs tomorrow in a handicap at Chepstow. And if we actually have a look at this handicap, you can see we've only rated her 6th out of 6. I think there's a lot more to come from Holly, though. She was, as I mentioned, 5th in that race at Uttoxeter, behind Lady Adair, Tweed Skirt, I can't remember. Credo, then went to Wincanton and won really impressively, and won. Obviously it franked the form of Lady Adair, but I think there's a lot more to come, and she's only been given a handicap mark of 125. I don't think that's anywhere near enough. I think she's a mid 130s horse at least, and I think she will go very, very close tomorrow at Chepstow. It's a nothing race. It's just a class 3 handicap. It's not worth a lot of money, but I think they'll be trying to win to move her up the handicap to get her into a race that is actually worth running in very soon. So Holly is one that I think can win a couple of handicaps en route to probably being in listed races or the feature handicaps. Another JP horse that I want to talk about is Time to Get Up, who's rated 139. Now, I think last year they were looking at the Grand National with Time to Get Up, but I thought they ran him in the wrong national fences trial. They ran him in the 2.5 mile at Aintree in November, and he got badly outpaced, was never going, and disappointed. His third at Haydock after that was very good, when he was beaten by Bristol de May and the Big Galloper, I'm going to say. It's something Galloper. Let me have a look. The Big Galloper. I think that's what it's called. Galloping Bear. Nothing like the Big Galloper. Well, it's got the word Galloper in it. Galloping Bear, who looks like a real strong staying type. Time to Get Up then went back to the Utox Midlands National, ran well again, finished third after being backed into 11 to 4 favourite. Then disappointed at Fairyhouse in the Irish National. Forget that race, things didn't go right. Still only went off 11 to 1 for the Irish National. I think this season they'll probably be looking for a bit softer going, and I think the Grand National could be the target this year as the 9/10, so he'll be 10 come the National. I think they'll look at the longer distance national races first, such as the Beecher Chase, and then going to the Grand National rather than running in that 2 mile 5 race that didn't quite work and didn't really start him off in good style for his season last year. I think they'll change that this season. Moving on to Gary Claremont. Now, I'm really keen on Gary Claremont if they drop him back to 2 miles. I think his 2 mile form was much stronger than when he was third at Ascot, pulled up at Cheltenham, and then fourth at Aintree. But he was beaten comfortably in those races. His second at Ascot was a good run, and his third at Ascot was a very good run. He was behind the likes of Tritonic and One More for the Road, but in front of Metier and West Cork, both of whom subsequently won good handicaps. I really think the form is strong over 2 mile, and he's only rated 139, which is actually £3 lower than when finishing third at Ascot over 2 mile behind Tritonic and One More for the Road, which I thought both of those were really well handicapped coming into the race. That's where I hope they go. Look at these 2 mile races and really focus on the 2 mile races. Go for the county hurdle at the Cheltenham Festival as well, and stick to those 2 miles. Don't go up to the 2.5 mile. Next horse I want to talk about, I know some people will laugh at me for this or will say you're an idiot, which I may be, but I really like Mr. Coffee. Mr. Coffee's rated 140. I think he's a graded horse when he gets it right. I think he's a 150 plus, and he's going to get it right soon. At Aintree, over the 2 mile 5, he got himself so far behind, he could never get involved over those national fences. The race before that at Cheltenham, I thought Sam Whaley-Cohen was actually at fault. I think he thought Mr. Coffee was going to win it quite comfortably. And unfortunately, Top Rated outbattled him on the day. I think it was Top Rated. Let me just quickly check. Was it Chambard for Venetia Williams, I'm going to say? Let's have a look. Just loading it. Yes, it was Chambard. Look at that, a 72.43 top-rated winner at the Cheltenham Festival, beating the RTR2 and favourite of the race, Mr. Coffee. As I said, I thought Sam thought he was going to win that comfortably, and when he pushed the buttons, it didn't quite quicken in time. I'm liking those 3 mile races, the 3 mile handicaps. I wouldn't have a problem seeing them at Cheltenham over 2.5. The Paddy Power Gold Cup, the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup, whatever they're called, all those 2.5 handicap chases, I think it would go very well. I think a 140 is not his true mark yet. I think he's 150 plus, and if all things fall right for him, he can certainly win a handicap. I imagine we might see James Bowen riding him a few times this year, because I understand that Nicky Henderson and James Bowen are trying to win the jockey's title. So I think because he would have a good chance in quite a few races, I think James Bowen might be on board, rather than Nico de Boinville, and obviously Sam Whaley-Cohen has now retired, so he won't be riding. 2 more to go on this video. No, 1 more to go, sorry, on this video, and that horse is Hollow Games. Now, Hollow Games is rated 142 in Ireland, and I think he's perfect, absolutely perfect, for the Pertemps Final at the Cheltenham Festival. I thought his run at Cheltenham in the 2.5 mile race was a very good run. I thought his 5th at Punchestown was good enough as well. He's got some really smart form. And I think the owners, Bective Stud, have been trying to win the Pertemps Final. Last year they had Volcano and Tully Begg both running it, and the year before they had the Bosses Oscar. Bosses Oscar obviously ran a great race for second, frustratingly second, having been our horse to follow that year, with that race in mind. I think they might try and target the Hollow Games at the Pertemps Final. They don't need to do a lot with him in terms of getting his mark up. They may look at the Bective Stud handicap at, I think it's at Navan. Just having a quick look. It is at Navan. where they might try and win that, obviously, because they are the owners and the sponsors. That would be it for me. They could go the Bective Stud, Pertemps Final, or obviously they need to run in a Pertemps qualifier, sorry. So running the qualifier that Volcano qualified from last year, finish 6th, then go to Bective Stud, win it, then go to the Pertemps Final, win it. Easy game. Obviously, it's not that easy. But that would be the kind of schedule, I think, or campaign that Hollow Games could be looking at. As I said, I think he's a really good horse for the handicaps, particularly the Pertemps Final. So that's the first lot of horses there. As I said, I think if it was just to pick one, it'd be Kitty's Light. He's going to win a big handicap. I hope it's the Grand National, because I have been shouting about him for maybe 2 seasons now. So yeah, let's hope a lot of these can win some big races. You can see a lot of these are being aimed at handicaps, not the graded races. I'm not a fan of looking at those for the graded races. Generally, at this stage of the season, you'd be picking the same horses: the Constitution Hills, the Facile Vegas, the Vauban's, which is quite boring for me. Looking at those who might be able to win a feature handicap and generally bigger prices as well. So that's the first lot. The second lot will be just underneath on the blog, and it will be the next video on YouTube. Thanks for listening.